Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Scott.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah. This you've been very excited about this. Yes,
yeah.
You're a hero of Eric's, and he's
wow.
very excited that he.
No, I was sitting over at Devil's Den. Oh, when was that? June, right before the June tour. We did, and you and your wife walked by.
Oh yeah,
and you had the dog, and I was like starstruck. I was like, I didn't dare get out of the Jeep and say anything. I was like, he's busy.
Yeah,
Talk to me anytime.
people love when you're on. I was on the battlefield one day at the Angle actually, and a guy came over to me and he said, "Are you Matt from Addressing Gettysburg?" I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Wow, this is so weird." He goes, "I was just over at the Pennsylvania Memorial listening to your episode with Scott Hartwig, and he rode his bike right by me." He's like, "And now I come up here and I meet you." And he's like, "This is so surreal."
Hey, we try to be accessible.
Yeah. Okay, let me mark that there. Okay, here we go. Oh, got to do my little thing here. No, not that.
No, that's wrong.
That's the wrong thing. This is what I'm looking for.
You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Okay, hello, patrons. How are you today? We are sitting here. Eric and I are sitting here. Say hello, Eric.
Hello.
Eric and I are sitting here, and we are looking at a phone, and this phone on it has our guest through Google Meet, which is just a wonderful little thing. Zoom, Google Meet. Really, where would we all be after going through 2020 without Zoom or Google Meet? I think
we'd have to bring back the old party line.
Oh, God. How awful. This episode is about an essay. This essay is called the High Watermark Heroes, Myth, and Memory. The link is in the description here, the show notes. Today we're focusing on John Batchelder and the work that he did immediately after the battle and for the rest of his life to get an accurate history of the Battle of Gettysburg and preserve and commemorate the ground itself. The essay's author is none other than Scott Hartwig. You know him, you love him. He's been on the show before, and we have him on again. And he is our guest today. Hello, Scott.
Hello. Good to be here.
Scott is sitting in, I guess that's your office there with all the books in the background, and you got a magnifying glass back there, like big, huge.
There might be.
It looks cozy, but it's a lot of books.
It's junky. It's very junky.
Yeah, but you know what? I find those spaces, like junky spaces, to be the most. What's the word I'm looking for? It's just easy to be creative in those spaces.
Yeah, it is. It's true.
If it's too neat, it's too sterile. I can't get creative. So
that's right. Right. Yeah.
So this, we were talking a little bit beforehand about this essay. It's available online, like I said. But where does it come from? It's from some publication that the Park Service used to put out.
When I worked for the National Park of Gettysburg, every 2 years we did a seminar, and it would have a different theme. But in the 2000s, I was the person who was responsible for deciding what the seminar would be. And I decided that we would do a series of 5 seminars, which would cover 10 years, which would cover the campaign each day of the Battle of Gettysburg and the aftermath of the battle. So we would do the seminar. The seminar would include a group of lecturers, and then it would also include field programs. And I would ask a certain number of people who presented at the seminar to write a seminar paper. This was meant to be a professional paper, an academic sort of paper, on the topic that they gave their tour on or they gave their lecture on.
Okay.
Once those were finished, I would edit all the essays. I would then, using Microsoft Word, I laid them out, frequently I'd have John Heiser do maps for them. I would pick all the photographs, or I would ask the writer to pick photographs for me. And we would lay the whole thing out, and then we would publish it using the funds that we'd received from the seminar. And then everyone who had participated in the seminar got a copy of the proceedings, and then we generally order a couple hundred extra. We would sell them in the bookstore, and the proceeds from that helped fund the next seminar that we would do. So the seminar was completely self-sufficient, didn't use any tax dollars from any American. But I mean, the other part of it was, as I explained it to the people who work there, when you give a talk or you give a program out in the field, it's like building a campfire, and people gather around the campfire and they really enjoy the campfire. It was great. We have good memories of the campfire. But when we're done, the campfire's finished. It's gone. What you said in your lecture or in your field program is gone. No even record. If somebody recorded it, even if nobody's going to probably watch your thing over and over again, right?
Right.
When you write something, that is pretty much permanent. So that someone 20 years later can pick that up and read what you wrote. The other part of it is you learn so much more when you have to write than you do when you have to present a program.
Yes.
Because you can skate by on some things with having somewhat superficial knowledge, but when you write and you footnote, you have to know what you're doing. You have to have some substance to it. So it was also part of my objective in this was for the people on the staff was to develop their knowledge, develop their skills, and broaden their horizons about what they knew about the Civil War, because we didn't always just do Gettysburg. So consequently, I mean, I refer to these seminar books all the time. If I'm doing something on Gettysburg, I can go back to them because they're just a great resource. And in fact, I was a few months ago, I was actually going through this particular essay that I wrote because I needed to look up something about the High Watermark Monument.
Okay. Now, were these symposiums in addition to, or were these the precursors to the winter lectures?
These were in addition to the winter lectures.
Okay.
And they were the precursors to the winter lectures.
Oh, okay.
So the winter lectures, we started those because we now had a facility in which we could do something in the wintertime. And the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to establish that the classrooms that we had built at the visitor center, that those were for learning. They were not for making money.
Okay.
So I didn't want the foundation beginning to use the classrooms in a way that they could generate, do fundraising. I wanted to make sure the classroom's primary purpose was educational. So we started those winter lectures in the classrooms. In the first year, I was completely astonished. I thought it would work. I had no idea how well it would work. And we then had to move to the theaters, the movie theaters,
right?
Because so many people were coming to the lectures. So the lectures ended up being really, really successful, but they were different. They were different than the seminars that we did. We usually did the seminars in the spring.
Okay. So different time of year and everything.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you hear an echo, that's just how it goes. This article here, or this essay here, the part that I want to focus on today is the Batchelder stuff, and I'm going to read just a piece of it so that the audience gets an idea where we're coming from here. You say in the essay that over the last decade, from how long ago was this? What year was this that you wrote this? Roughly.
It was published in 2010.
2010, okay.
Yeah.
So you say, over the last decade, the question has been raised whether the place where the great charge was repulsed was an accidental high water mark. The argument persuasively presented is that the Confederates did not intend to attack this point at all, that the objective of the attack was the woods to the north, Ziegler's Grove, or in another variation, Cemetery Hill, key terrain of the battlefield, and that the Confederates struck the Union line where they did because of battlefield confusion or because Union artillery fire drove them south. Okay. So, first of all, the phrase "the high watermark," where do we get that from?
That is a phrase that is coined by a gentleman named John Batchelder.
Okay, John Batchelder.
And John Batchelder, who he's going to, in our talk today, he's going to come up over and over again. So I'll just give you a little background about John Batchelder.
Sure.
John Batchelder is a resident of New Hampshire. He was 35 years old when the Civil War began in 1861. He was a educator and a artist and also a photographer. He was a jack of all trades, but he, if you see a picture of him, he doesn't look like the creative type. He looks like maybe he would be a robber baron or something like that.
Right.
But he was a very creative individual. And in 1862, he attached himself to the Army of the Potomac. He was very interested in military things, but I don't think he had the greatest health in the world. So he did not join the Army. So in 1862, though, he joins the Army of the Potomac on the Virginia Peninsula because he believes the Peninsula Campaign of 1862 is going to result in the great climactic battle of the war, and he wants to document that battle. He had wanted to write the definitive history of the Battle of Bunker Hill, but he discovered as he began to interview people who knew people who had actually been present when the battle had taken place, that the battle was incredibly poorly documented. He couldn't write something on it. So he wanted to make sure that for this great battle that was going to occur in the Civil War, that he was there to document it. Well, of course, the Peninsula Campaign didn't turn out like anybody expected it would. And Batchelder, like a lot of the soldiers in the Army, got sick. He went home to New Hampshire to recover. But he got a promise from some of the officers who'd become friends of his in the Army that whenever it looked like another great important battle was looming, they would let him know. So when Batchelder finds out about the Battle of Gettysburg, he probably learned about it on July the 2nd, maybe late on July the 1st, the way the telegraph wires worked. He probably got news of it pretty quickly. He immediately set out for Gettysburg. He reached the battlefield either July 4th or July 5th. He spent 84 days on the battlefield.
Wow.
He sketched everything that he could all over the place on the field. He interviewed lots of wounded men who were there, including Confederates, some of whom he took out on the battlefield with him to point out their positions that they had been in the battle. Then in the fall of 1863, he went down and visited the Army of the Potomac at its winter quarters, the late fall of 63 at Brandy Station. And he claimed that he interviewed every participant someone from every unit in the Army of the Potomac that was present in the Battle of Gettysburg. Now, 2 corps of the Army of the Potomac, the 11th and 12th, had been transferred to the Western Theater. Those officers he corresponded with. He wasn't able to interview them because they were gone already. He then created this amazing map, the John Batchelder isometric map, which is like a helicopter view of the Battle of Gettysburg, all 3 days on one beautiful map. It's a beautiful piece of artwork. And he got, you could never do this today, but he got Meade and all of the corps commanders to endorse it. It was a commercial project.
Yeah.
He sold the map. So Meade and all the officers looked at this map and they're like, this is unbelievable. This is phenomenal. They loved it. Anyway, this embarked John Batchelder upon a lifelong fascination and interest in the Battle of Gettysburg. And that led to documenting the battle and ultimately led to preserving the battlefield. And in the process of this, Batchelder came to realize how important what we call the angle, the copse of trees, the clump of trees. In 1869, there was a group of officers, about 150 officers, that came to Gettysburg and met at the Springs Hotel, which is on where it was is on where the old Gettysburg Country Club used to be on the First Day's battlefield. Right. So 4 of the officers at the reunion were Confederates. Everybody else was a federal officer. And the one Confederate was Walter Harrison. Walter Harrison was on the staff of George Pickett. And Batchelder and Harrison spent several hours one day.
This episode is now available over at patreon.com/addressinggettysburg. Please help support the show and become a patron today.